Alright, so when you go about investing in mutual funds, you have two options. You can either purchase directly, or you can directly or on your own, or you can go to a mutual fund distributor who then helps you in picking up and investing in the right fund for you. Now, these intermediaries play a vital role in the world of investment, being stock market, open market investments, or even mutual funds. So, today on the Money Show, we will discuss all that you need to know about these intermediaries, and for that we are joined by Radhika Gupta, MD CEO to Edelweiss AMC, and Sanjay Shah, MD Prudent Corp. Good evening and welcome to the show. Radhika, first question to you. Let's understand the role of intermediaries from an AMC point of view and from an investor's point of view, because in recent times we've seen the industry has gained a lot from it. Even the investors post-pandemic have got more awareness about equity markets and investment in equity markets through mutual funds. So how do you actually read this kind of an interest? Is it only the interest in the equity markets, or we are also looking at the financial literacy, which is the bigger goal?
So I think, Kavita, firstly, thank you to your team for touching on a very important issue of intermediation, which is less talked about. See, as a brand, as Edelweiss Mutual Fund, we have always had the campaign Advice Zaruri Hai, which talks to the role that intermediation and financial advice plays in an investor's journey. You know, post-COVID, especially more and more investors are at least aware of mutual fund investing, want to create wealth in the markets, but many times when we talk to them, they don't know how. They don't know how to get started. They don't know how to choose from a bevy of mutual fund products that are also increasingly getting more varied and more complicated. And while they may have heard of funds from their family or friends or neighbors or social media, they don't know what is right for them. And I think here is where a mutual fund intermediary, whether an advisor or distributor, can help you take a very valuable next step in taking this idea of mutual funds and helping you build an asset allocation and a portfolio that works for you, and then guiding you on how to use mutual funds to use your goals. Because finally, mutual fund is a little bit like that old children's toy Lego. It's a tool. You build what makes sense for you. And I think that architect can be a mutual fund distributor who can work with you. So that is something that we very strongly believe.
Exactly. I can see Sanjay agreeing to a lot of pointers that you've mentioned in this answer. But then, Sanjay, I just come to you. Before that, quickly, Radhika, what to look at when one goes to talk to an intermediary, or when one is thinking about going to an intermediary to make any financial investment purchase?
So I think choosing an intermediary is a very well thought out decision, and I give the analogy that the same kind of things you would look at in a doctor, in a family doctor, you should look at in a financial intermediary. To me, I think there are two parts to this. One is trust. You know, money is finally a business of trust, and you have to absolutely trust the person that you are talking to. So I always tell investors when they're talking to intermediaries, you know, when you're talking to an intermediary, this should not be someone who's trying to sell you a product. This should be someone who's trying to ask you questions about your financial personality, about your financial goals, and then building a solution that works for you. Just like medical advice, the right medical advice is the right one that is right for your body. The right financial advice is the one that is right for your financial conditions. And so that is the first element, trust and the ability to understand you, listen to you, and work around you. The second element is competence. Of course, in any medical professional, for instance, you look at competence. And I think the intermediary's knowledge of markets, market instruments, mutual fund instruments even outside mutual funds. You know, one of the things that has happened in a market like India, Kavita, since 2003 is financial products have evolved so much. In fact, mutual funds have evolved so much. At one time, we used to have only actively managed equity funds and fixed income funds. Now you have ETFs, index funds, smart beta funds, international funds, China funds, debt passive funds. So the mutual fund intermediaries, knowledge and competence needs to shine through. Finally, you need someone who understands market, who understands and finance is a technical professional. This is not selling makeup. So I think that element of competence is extremely important. These are the single two things I would look for when I choose an intermediary.
All right, Sanjay, I'm sure you echo most of the things that Radhika is highlighting over here. And also, what I also want to understand from you is actually the way intermediaries work. They play a very crucial role when it comes to investor education. That's clearly established. But then, what is crucial in the kind of services that intermediaries provide? What is the kind of expectation an investor should be having from an intermediary?
Which Radhika said, definitely I'll fully agree with her as far as the importance of advisors. And I can tell you frankly, the advisor plays a very, very important role in the life of investors, because they, starting from assessing the requirement to constructing the portfolio, doing the proper asset allocations, probably making sure that investor remain probably hooked to his goal in spite of there being a turbulent times, whether we are talking about the market upcycle or the down cycle. I think periodically assessing and rebalancing the portfolio based on his requirement. I think when, as you are reaching closer to your goal probably you start tilting your portfolio towards more debt instruments so that your portfolio doesn't get impacted by sudden volatility. So there are n number of activities which advisor plays in the life of investors. So when you choose an advisor, probably you need to keep in mind that whether the advisor has that kind of experience or not, whether advisor is capable enough to do the proper risk assessment and the portfolio allocation or not, whether he is probably using the technology effectively or not. Same way what Radhika said is that now the mutual fund alone may not suffice the requirement of investors. Frankly, I believe mutual fund is a very, very prominent product, but still you should be able to take care of your taxation aspect, your protection requirement like your term plan or health insurance, or probably, so overall probably we believe that the advisor stroke mutual fund distributors has to play a very holistic role when dealing with the investor.
Sure. Sanjay, if you just want to go back and help us understand how the entire concept of intermediary has also changed. I will be asking questions later on about the penetration and the kind of reach that intermediaries have. But then so far, if you just go back 5 years back, okay, how has the entire setup changed? If through example, you could just explain this to us.
So frankly, if you look at, there is a strong cult which has developed in the country about SIP. I can tell you frankly, maximum credit goes to the entire IFA community or the mutual fund distributor community, who played a very, very huge role of bringing retail investor to the SIP as a big instrument. Overall, if you look at in last 5 years, the share of IFA stroke mutual fund distributors in the overall asset management or the AUM, that share is now upward of 50%, which used to be less than 50%. So I think they play a very, very huge role of bringing money in the overall scheme of the thing. If you look at the overall equity, which is a very, very strong from the point of retail investors for a wealth creation, maximum contribution of retail IFA comes in the equity and the hybrid segment. So retail participation, penetration, I think the creating a cult of SIP to the ground level, IFA played a very, very important role in last 5 years. And I can tell you frankly, in last 5 years, because the way entire product basket and the availability is increasing, the need of intermediation and having the good quality advisor on your side is becoming very, very prominent now.
All right, let's move on. And Radhika, let's talk about penetration and reach. Now, specifically talking about small and mid towns and B30 towns, how are these places faring? Especially since the pandemic, we've seen the awareness really, the entire scenario has changed. What are the factors and how far have we come? A lot really needs to be done over here, but the kind of aim that jointly people like you and me have over here, a broader picture of on financial literacy. This is probably the first chapter that we are on. How do you see it faring, and what are the expectations also of the people generally in B30 towns?
So I think there are a few things. One is that, look, India is becoming more aspirational, and that aspiration doesn't sit in tier 1 and tier 2 cities. So if you look at the P30 investor now, he or she is aware of mutual funds. Thanks to programs like Mutual Fund Sahi Hai, so many fintechs platforms coming out, the awareness about financial instruments, about market wealth creation, about mutual funds, this has definitely increased. So aspiration levels, whether it's career or money, have gone up in all parts of India, including B30. In fact, when we look at mutual fund industry data for substantial periods, we see that while the base is smaller, B30 is growing at a faster pace than B30. That is happening. And the growth, I think fintech platforms, to give them credit, have done a wonderful job in sort of democratizing access to these things. So you no longer need a platform. You no longer need to fill up forms and do this. This all can be done digitally. So I think access and awareness are not a problem. What we do need, however, is that when people are coming in from these cities to mutual funds, they come in the right way. So, finally, I think an investor will make money in the market if they stay for long enough and enjoy the benefits of compounding. That longevity will only happen if you got the right kind of advice, if you've chosen the right products, if you've been handheld to stay through different market conditions. And that's where some of the fact that investors who are not fully aware are coming in without advice from these markets sometimes is concerning. So I always tell this group of investors that please look out for a good intermediary in your market. And believe me, I travel a lot of the country. They do exist. They are coming up.
Same question to you, Sanjay. How do you see B30 towns coming up? And in fact, when it comes to beating the urban areas, also, what's the kind of investor we are looking at? What are their interest areas?
Look at overall B30, as Radhika said, I think that segment, or even B50, beyond 30 cities or beyond 50 cities, I think participation has been increasing at a rapid pace. But however, we feel that these are the guys who has been participating regularly through SIP. So overall SIP numbers are also increasing very, very fast in beyond 30 cities. And I can look at my number also. The participation of retail through SIP in the beyond 30 cities is increasing very, very fast. However, for us to have the significant growth of retail investors in the mutual fund industry, I believe fleet on street like the mutual fund distributors, that number is hardly about 1,35,000 today in the country. Against that, if you look at, there are almost 21 lakh insurance agents. So if you want that more and more people should come into a financialization where you have a beautiful product like mutual fund and beautiful vehicle like SIP, I think everybody. Probably we also play a significant role. Radhika and MC also play a very important role. We need to make sure number of players who advise the people and bring them into the investment side has to increase manifold from here. So I wish today we have 1,35,000 mutual fund distributors as an agent. That number has to go up at least 5 to 7 times in times to come. Then only we'll be able to have a significant growth from that side. Another thing, thanks to entire digital ecosystem which has been changing very, very fast, I think the convenience of investing is now very, very easy, whether you talk about onboarding or starting the SIP through match or probably looking the portfolio on the platform, execution through the click of the button. So probably everything is now right as far as execution and investments are concerned. What is requirement, what we require very seriously is handholding of those people to make sure they invest in the right direction, they remain committed to their goal, and probably we can bring more and more people to the fold.
Also, Sanjay, could you also explain us the current cost structure that investors need to understand maybe?
So probably if you look at the cost of intermediation is roughly in the range of, on the equity and hybrid side, I believe is in the range of 80-85 basis points, which includes 18% GST also. So if you invest through distributors, there will be a distributor commission which is paid by the manufacturer directly to us. If you go to AMC directly, then you save that cost, which is hardly about 70-75 basis points. However, when you look at the cost, you need to be mindful of the fact also that against that cost, are distributor able to generate alpha for us or not? Are distributor able to generate the extra return for the investor or not? And I can know there are n number of research which is available in the developed market like US. I can just give a reference to one of the research which has been conducted by Merrill Lynch, which they talk about as the value of personal financial advice, and they bucket it. So if you look at the role which advisor is expected to play, would be starting from assessing the requirement to, let's say, asset allocations, probably coaching the customer class or doing the behavioral coaching or tax management. Probably I think very, very important thing would be tax management, to making sure that customer remain committed to his goal. Then the allocation among the various asset class. So these all things put together, I think that Merrill Lynch report says that the advisor generate the alpha in the range of probably 250 basis point to 350 basis point. I'm talking about 2.5% to 3.5%. So against that average alpha which advisors generate about 300 basis point, I think 80 basis point is not a cost which somebody should keep in mind. And I can tell you these are the research of a developed market like US, and in case of India, still there is a huge need for us to people to bring into the market. So I think there is a lot of discussion about the distribution cost, but I believe that cost is not significantly larger. I can tell you another way also. Today, if you look at the country, there is hardly about 18-20,000 distributors who have the AUM of more than 10 crore who make serious money. So there is a really, we have a need for us to increase the number of advisors who can also make meaningful money.
Alright, Radhika, now there will be a second consultation paper on TER. We just want to understand what exactly was the representation done from the industry side, that the SEBI chairman said the industry would be very happy to see the second consultation paper or the changes that we made. What changes were proposed and what could be the new form?
Okay, so I think firstly, as an industry, I think we should be very happy that this is truly TER, which is such an important decision for our industry, has truly been a consultative process. As chairperson said, because this was price sensitive information, a particular draft of the consultation paper came out. Thereafter, the industry responded with feedback. I think most importantly, the industry responded with a lot of data to hopefully answer the regulators' questions. We are very happy that that has been heard, and a new consultation paper is coming out. Without going into too many details of what the industry said, I think what we've done is bring out data. For instance, the fact, let me give you an example that the chairperson also alluded to, so that this is reasonably public information. The fact that arbitrage funds do a high degree of churn. Now that churn is not necessarily bad churn. It is done because you believe that you will generate higher interest, and buy sell is just the nature of the product. So I think the industry's job as practitioners is to highlight nuances, and both the industry and regulators' interests is to work together finally for the growth of the industry. You recall at our AMC office inauguration, the chairperson had called us the bada beta of the industry and said that mutual funds are the best instrument of saving or investing for the ordinary Indian. So I think we are all working towards that objective.
So Radhika, again, in continuity to the previous question, so what kind of changes would you think investors would be interested in seeing, or investor-friendly changes that one should be expecting?
So, it is hard to say till we see the consultation paper. All we have is one consultation paper, and some of the publicly made statements after the press conference. I think from an investor point of view, there has genuinely been nothing to worry. If I look at the last 10 years of regulatory changes, mutual funds have only gotten cheaper in terms of expense ratio. In fact, as schemes have scaled, the benefit of scale has passed on to investors. Mutual funds have gotten substantially more transparent in terms of the kind of disclosures that are out there, and a lot of risk practices, particularly in fixed income, on insider trading, conflict of interest, a lot of good risk and governance practices have been put in place. So I think this is an industry that has gotten more and more regulated, but in the right direction. And I think finally the fact that we are now almost a 45 lakh crore industry is also a product of the fact that regulation has made us the kind of product that we are.
Sanjay, your expectation from the second consultation paper, what kind of relief are intermediaries expecting? What kind of representation was done from your end also?
I believe probably I think we also expect that the new version which will come would be very, very diluted one. And one important thing which I just wanted to highlight, the chairperson has already admitted when there was a press conference saying that the benefit of scale has already been transferred to the investors when they looked at the actual data. We are just going through one of the presentations which has been made by FIFA to the SEBI, where it has been categorically said by the FIFA that whatever has been the reduction in the cost cost has been borne by the mutual fund distributors, so which was about 9-10 basis point after significant TR cut came in April 2019. So whatever the benefit which has been required to be transferred has already been transferred to the investor. And so frankly, I think what we have to look at with reference to the global best practices and the global cost structure, keeping in mind the size of the industry. So if you look at the 45 lakh crore industry, and on the equity side, if you earn about 85 basis point, and if you take out that GST, I think the earning is not in the range of 70-75 basis points. ज़्यादा नहीं है. So probably I believe there has not been a significant scope for the reduction in the TR. What is required would be streamlining some of the things which is there in the mind of SEBI to make it all inclusive. There should not be anything outside the specified TR. If that comes without significant damage to the current structure, we all would love to welcome that.
All right, last question to Radhika and then we wrap up the discussion. Radhika, what kind of intermediaries awareness programs do you as an AMC also conduct, in order to achieve the goal of financial literacy?
Absolutely, and I'll just point out 2 points. One, our team is always on the road. In fact, I myself am often on the road. And intermediaries are partners of AMCs. We think of them that way. And to work with them, in fact, to train them on how to showcase our products in the right way, how to use mutual funds as a general tool for investors is something that's very important. There's a second initiative that we've been doing every 31st of March. We declare it Financial Intermediaries Day. This year, we also released a very important report called the COGS, which was a tribute to the intermediary profession. And in fact, one of the most important things I must point out, the insight of the report was that if you look at longevity of investors, and investors that have stayed for more than 2 years of our assets, of Edelweiss mutual fund assets, the number, when you look at assets that came from intermediaries, was well in excess of 30% versus direct investors, which was 14%. So it's also sort of proving to the investor community that there is a benefit that intermediaries are giving you if you are choosing to seek advice. So that is a very important initiative of Edelweiss Mutual Fund, the whole Financial Intermediation Day, and that's going to continue and grow.
Alright, I think that will be all. Thank you so much, Radhika and Sanjay, being on the show and helping our viewers with every aspect of mutual fund intermediaries. Thank you so much. Alright, we move on in tonight's episode of IDFC First Bank Presents